Just saw a fox then. Anyway, today's video is going to feel a bit like that. That wasn't fake, I did see a fox then. Today's video is going to maybe feel a little bit unstructured. And there's a sort of a bit of an irony to that, because in a way that's the point. I have a sort of a small confession to make. Look, it's no surprise, I'm only human. And that confession is, I don't always practice what I preach. But then, hey, who does? Even the most religious vicar, I'm sure they don't always practice what they preach. In fact, we certainly know they don't. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about a strange thing that's sort of happened to me this week, just a strange feeling that I've had. And the idea that somehow it doesn't matter what you do in life, nothing is really perfect or necessarily lives up to the dream that you're sold. I mean, there are moments, of course, that you just think, this is amazing, life is amazing. But it's very hard for that to be consistent. And that's what I'm talking about today, really, is that being retired or early retirement is a dream for many, isn't it? I mean, after all, the grass is always greener on the other side. That phrase has value, it has currency for a reason, because it's sort of true. We always think someone else's life is better. And in a way, that's what marketing firms and companies sort of sell us, don't they? They sell us a dream, right? And the essence of a dream is that it's not real, hence the dream. There are moments, you know, where life feels like a dream, but most of the time, life doesn't feel like a dream. However much you've sort of worked for or worked towards achieving life being a dream. And retirement is meant to be that, isn't it? Retirement is, wow, I mean, you lucky bastard, you don't have to do any work. And you know what? Yeah, look, let's be honest, let's put a context on this video here. Everything I'm saying here is, I get it, it's relative, you know? There are people who have to get up in the morning, God knows what hour, go to work, commute on hot days like this. I mean, look at this today. I mean, hardly a cloud in the sky. It's hot, yeah, super hot, perhaps not. It's perfect, there's a light breeze. I mean, yeah, paradise, right? I'm retired, I live in the countryside, I don't have to work. What's not to like, you moany old bastard, eh? But that's the point. I said this is going to be very much a kind of unstructured video and me just chatting. This is old school. Normally my videos, I kind of go off and I do kind of thorough research and stuff like this. This is just me trying to express a feeling that I've kind of had this week a couple of times, and how it sort of inspired me to kind of look out for certain key trigger moments as a sort of warning. But yeah, talking of, you know, paradise, retirement. I mean, you buy a retirement brochure and it's some sort of couple in their 60s, you know, handsome grey hair, kicking the water on the beach or whatever with a sunset and all of that, or living by the pool, as I've talked about. You know, retirement isn't a holiday. You sold that dream, and come on, we know that's marketing, isn't it? You know, it's going to make your teeth whiter than white. It never is. It's a dream. We buy the toothpaste, we buy the dream. We know deep down it's not going to be like that 100% of the time. And as I said, I don't always practice what I preach. I say, you know, on this channel so many times, oh, you know, you've got to make sure you have a purpose. You've got to make sure you have motivation. And 100% that, yeah, 100%. But it's easy for, you know, YouTubers, experts, people doing TED Talks or whatever it is, in anything in life, to say, oh yeah, this is the theory. You know, entrepreneurs who said, oh, I made my first million in the first 2 years. Yeah, there's probably a stroke of luck to that. And now you kind of chronicalize it in such a way like you had a kind of a very clear path when perhaps some of it was just opportunity. We like to put meaning and structure into achievements and stuff like that. But yeah, I talk on this channel about how it's important to have a purpose, find motivation, so that you can enjoy your freedom, especially, as I said, finding purpose and motivation, especially after the structure of work. And for most of the time, yeah, I have motivation, I have purpose. Of course I do. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I lack motivation. And this week had two sort of strange effects. Monday morning, the first part of the week I tend to be by myself for 2 or 3 days. And hey, look, I quite like that solitude, but it can also have detrimental effects. So yeah, Monday morning, nice and early, drop my kid off at high school, and then that's it. You know, I come home and I think, right, Monday, time to get motivated. Well, we've got action going here. There we go, look. Horse pulling the narrowboat. So Monday morning, drop the kid off at school, come back, ready to exercise. But most of the weekend I'd been pretty bored. And you know, boredom's a weird thing, isn't it? How can we possibly be bored in this modern world when we have access to, I don't know, countless amounts of entertainment? When I was a kid, we had 3 channels, and sometimes on the, you know, those channels didn't show anything during the day. At the height of unemployment, they introduced daytime TV, but before that, there used to be a bloody test card. Anyway, that's another thing. So you used to have an excuse for being bored. Literally, there was nothing on TV. The expression, oh, there's nothing on TV. But now you've got Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube and games, and there's so much not to be bored. And yet as humans, we still find a way of being bored. Anyway, Monday morning, should be doing exercise, completely lacked any motivation to do that, which is coming off the back of a weekend of not doing much. It's a little bit worrying, but not too much. I had a little bit of work to do and some videos. So I started editing a video I'd promised somebody I'd help them with. I thought, well, that won't take long. But the next thing I knew, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was literally gobsmacked. Like, where did the time go? Like, I had no sense of time disappearing past me at such a rapid rate. Normally, when you're super busy or something like that, you go, oh, time flies, doesn't it? Or you're having lots of fun. I was just doing some mundane editing, and literally, I looked up at the clock, started in the morning, I looked up on the clock, and it was 3 in the afternoon. I couldn't believe it. And then I was so shocked and depressed by the fact that time had just whizzed by, and I felt I hadn't really done much, that it got me a little bit down, and seemed to just kind of pile into that lack of motivation. And again this morning, no reason to get out of bed, but I made sure I did. Coming up to the horse in a minute. So yeah, I woke up about 8, doom scrolled for about an hour, as I am wont to do nowadays. Oh. Horsey. Right. It's all right to go past, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Hello, mate. Hello. Hello. Yeah, life on the canal path. So yeah, I woke up today, and again, complete lack of motivation. This is from the guy who's constantly coming on this channel saying you've got to have purpose, you've got to have motivation. And I just didn't have it. I had to force myself to exercise, which is a good thing. But actually, what it made me realise is it's important to notice when you have moments like this, when you have moments of lacking motivation, or moments of boredom. There's a lot of research recently been done on boredom, and I might do a whole video about boredom because it's quite an interesting kind of study, field of work that people have been studying. But they think from an evolutionary point of view, they say boredom is there as an emotion, as a feeling to warn us. It's a warning sign that we need to change the situation that we're in. Yeah, we need to do something. Now, there's a difference between being bored and lacking motivation and not doing something. Yeah, there is a difference. Sometimes I reward myself with not doing anything. I kind of reward myself with a day off, as it were. Now you can say, well, Clive, how can you have a day off from a day off? You're retired. But, you know, I may be motivated and, you know, head down, make some videos, do some research for the videos that I do and all of that. And then, you know, I think to myself, you know what, have a day off because I can. And that's the beauty of retirement. You can say, I'm going to work in the garden today, do some work in the garden, and then the next day go, you know what, I won't do anything. And that's fine, that's different. You're kind of rewarding yourself. It's not through lack of motivation, it's a a choice or a reward for you. The difference when you don't do anything when you're not motivated, yeah, that feels very different. And so I kind of recognize these feelings. You know, I've been sitting around watching YouTube, like I was, you know, till 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday. I was just watching YouTube, brain dead, no motivation, not even a motivation to watch a movie or something, you know? The train goes by. So I kind of recognized these feelings and kind of read them for what they are, right? Which is like a warning, yeah, or a trigger. You need to change something, you know? You need to motivate yourself. You know, you've sort of fallen off the wagon a bit in terms of, you know, the motivation bicycle or the motivation track, whatever. You need to get back on it. It's important that you do. And so, yeah, I made the effort. I thought, oh, come on, get back on track, do my exercise routine, the one I published on this channel. It's weird, actually, doing a fitness workout to your own video. I was even wearing the same shirt doing it. Anyway, beside the point. Check out my video here if you want. Doing that and getting through it and feeling the satisfaction that actually, wow, I really didn't want to do it today, but I got through to the end. And, you know, you have that feeling of actually, yeah, I felt a little bit better about myself. So good for me. And then I kind of thought, right, I need to do something. I need to achieve something, however small. I had a check that I needed, a check, can you believe it? I had a check I needed to put into the bank, and for some reason I couldn't put it through my app. So it meant an actual trip to the bank. I don't think I've deposited a check in a bank in, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Unbelievable. So I thought, well, okay, I'll go for a drive. I'll go into town. I have to leave the house. Again, just to sort of change the environment, because that's the other thing about lack of motivation and a sort of drop into ennui and boredom. Ennui is a funny word, actually, interesting word. It existed before the word boredom. In fact, it was invented, I think, to describe the feeling of boredom, because the word or the concept of boredom is quite a recent concept. Previously, people didn't have time to be bored. They were working to survive. I'm talking 100 years, 150 years ago. So boredom is a very 20th century thing. Anyway, I digress. I went into town, deposited a check, did some shopping, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Great. So however small an achievement that was, you know, it was like a weekly shop, did my weekly shop, but I could tick it off the list. However small an achievement it was, it felt vaguely productive. And again, my brain felt rewarded through that. But all of this has kind of made me think that, yeah, however much I preach about the importance of having a purpose and being motivated, you can't be motivated 100% of the time. And I'm not talking about giving yourself a day off. I'm talking about some days it just isn't there. Yeah, that motivation just ain't there. It just ain't happening today. And that's fine. The odd day here and there. What the danger point is not recognizing what's happening to you. I guess this is the point of this unstructured video. Not recognizing what's actually happening to you psychologically with that lack of motivation. Right? If it lasts a day, 2 days, 3 days, and you fall into a bit of a slump, which is very easy to do when you live on your own. You've got no one else around you spurring you on, or maybe coming up with ideas to do something. Let's go out. Let's go for a walk. You know, all these things. Fine, yeah, 80%, 90% of the time, you can tell yourself to do all this. But there are those moments when you just need someone else to give you a little poke and say, yeah, come on, let's do this thing. And you might be reluctant, but actually, once you do the thing, you're kind of, actually, I'm glad we did this and life is cool again. What it made me realize, these feelings that I had, and recognizing these feelings, and that's the key thing here, is that it's really important to look out for these red flags, to look out for these signs and ask yourself, this is not about, oh, I've got to be doing something all the time. Like I said, no, you can have days off, but do you feel good? Do you feel content doing nothing, having a day off? And sometimes, you know what, doing absolutely nothing, chilling, cup of tea, watching YouTube videos, you know, educating yourself on something new, or just watching something frivolous. Do you know what? That's okay. Now and then, that's fine. And as long as you feel emotionally content with that, not what other people think, what you think, how you feel, then that's fine. But when you have those days of doing nothing and you feel that lack of motivation, that feeling of ennui, again, that's your body, you know, boredom, and that ennui feeling is your evolutionary self telling you you need to change things up. Yeah, life's not a constant Instagram image or an Instagram reel. We take photographs of that perfect latte or that beautiful spread of food or that wonderful moment or that wonderful sunset, yeah? Life's not constantly like that. Of course it isn't, but we can get lulled into that sense that surely life is meant to be, you know, I'm lucky. Why am I feeling so bad? You know, I should be ashamed of myself. You know, people are having to work for a living. I'm doing bugger all. That doesn't matter, it's how you feel. And if it's making you feel a bit down or a bit bored, and that boredom, which in itself, as I said, collectively over a period of time, can lead to some more serious mental health issues, you've got to recognise the triggers. What boredom is evolution telling you to change your situation. Right. Force yourself to get motivated, to get yourself back on track. As I said, no problem in having the day off now and then, rewarding yourself with the freedom of nothing, but just look out for the signs of boredom. Don't let them accumulate too much, especially those days, extra hour in bed, the same the next day, the same the next day. These are warning signs, they're flags, things to look out for. They're warning signs, as I said, things to look out for. Just check yourself. And that's what I've done this week. In fact, it inspired me, ironically enough, to make this video. As I said at the beginning, I'm really, really lucky. I live in the countryside. I'm not surrounded by urban decay. It's beautiful summertime. What have I got to complain about? There's a line in the film White Mischief, character played by Sarah Miles. I think it's right at the beginning. It's set in near post-colonial Kenya, and she's overlooking the savannah there of a beautiful Kenyan sunrise from a beautiful colonial house. And she says, oh God, not a fucking another day in paradise. And yeah, whatever your situation is, however lucky you may feel, sometimes life will come along and say, yeah, not another fucking day in paradise. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you feel... Right, you're going to be on YouTube now. Save it! Hecklers from the side. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know. What do you do? Do you sometimes feel lack of motivation or boredom? Do you recognise it for the trigger that it is? Does it worry you? And all of these things. You know, you shouldn't feel guilty about not having to do anything. Absolutely. I know we have a Protestant kind of work ethic, but you deserve the freedom to do nothing. It's just that if that freedom of doing nothing leads to lack of motivation, and that lack of motivation leads to sort of sadness and depression, then it's important to look out for the warning flags early. Anyway, as I said, let me know your thoughts. Anyway, put the comments down below. I know this is unstructured, much more of a ramble than normal. Well, all your videos are ramble, Clive. Cheeky. Anyway, put your comments in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear. And if you like this video, then do me the great honor, please hit the likes, because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content just like this. Talking of content just like this, of course, why don't you check out these videos here? These ones here. Thanks for watching.